is kind of right towards that tree that's kind of angled right here.
Yep.
So the creek will kind of meander kind of right where the area is over here, where, you know, it's a little dry now, but you can see that there's some areas that are prone to wetness. We put that into tee boxes. You know, it wasn't enough money to kind of do any type of drainage, and a lot of drainage requires significant permitting. So tee boxes is something that every golfer can benefit from.
Yep.
It's a touch and feel just as much as a green is. And so we put a lot of money into creating new forward tees, creating options for a slower swing speed golfer, and then renovating some existing tee complexes. So like the 12th hole, those tee boxes were completely rebuilt. We added a beautiful new back tee on the 16th tee.
Okay.
Cleared out this whole area, and it really kind of creates a neat, cool environment of what to expect as the rest of the plan is executed. And that's really a great strategic improvement for the better golfer. And then we also re-leveled the back tee on 17, and then the back tee on hole 5. Those were really kind of getting quite cambered and curved,
yeah,
and not necessarily enjoyable for the better golfer, right? The better golfer wants to stand on a tee that's nice and flat and stable, and you know, good grass, good turf quality. So we were able to basically touch and feel and renovate about 14 tee boxes out of that money, which was pretty significant. One of the neat concepts that we executed was we put in this forward tee on 9, so that when this floods, we make this a long par 3.
Oh, okay. That's
so it gives us versatility.
Yep.
Because we know long term, once we fix the creek here, we can eventually then build in fairway drainage in this hole.
Yeah.
And we may even look as part of this plan to lift that fairway back up with some fill. 210-yard tee shot on a demanding hole, and your feet feel good.
Yeah.
You know, your feet feel comfortable. And eventually what we're going to do is bring the fairway up into the left of the green. So kind of allow more of this kind of a little bit of a slope effect on the left-hand side of the green. Redo the bunkers, because architecturally they're just not in line with what Stiles and Van Cleek, you know, originally conceptualized.
Yeah.
You know, it's got a lot of more modern Tillinghast kind of bunker to it when it was renovated. And it's a cool hole.
All cleared out.
Completely grubbed, and then we hydroseeded it all. So this will all turn into fescue and native grasses. And then eventually, once we do the same down there, we'll put in a split rail fence, like an old school split rail fence, and kind of, you know, finish this window into the golf course for people in the neighborhood and people driving by. And it really helps the overall tee, because now we've improved the amount of sunlight that is out here, you know, and the openness of this tee shot. This tee shot was really constricted, you know, behind you by the vines and the nastiness, you know, and now you've got a nice, more open feeling. Go ahead and expose the rock. So if this is now your back tee, this is a golf hole. Yeah, it's awesome from back there. It's really hard, but there's a lot of options a player can take off this tee box if this becomes the back tee. And you know, the more that we can open up that right side, and one of the things in the master plan is you can see this raised berm that goes across 14 right out there. The right side of that is actually going to be daylighted. So you're going to see that there's actually a creek that runs behind that rock. A golfer playing our golf course for the first time doesn't know that there's a creek that runs along that whole right side until they go up and can't find their golf ball, you know. So that's all going to get redone, and then the pipe will get replaced, and it'll become nice and flat and with a whole bunch of fairway drainage installed in the fairway to drain the fairway out. Nice. Overgrown with invasives and weeds and 15, 20 feet tall. There was 3 types of fencing material between the 2 holes, and just a horrific sight. It was just awful. And so we worked really hard over a couple of years to transform this into what it is now. And it just opens it up. It creates a beautiful, window for people driving by and the community looking in. And this whole corridor is improved tremendously. When you look at this is going to be that corridor that we were talking about, right? Yeah. The trees down on the right, they were protection linear plantings, 50 years ago. And trees don't really protect golfers. People, it's a misconception. And for us, you'll see where that creek is on the right-hand side of this hole, right-hand side of the other hole. That creek will now become the architectural feature that will separate the 2 holes. But when you get up here, it gives you a great view of how integral, and you probably haven't seen the creek that we exposed. See, this is the creek, right? So we did it in a very basic fundamental, because we had found that the steel pipe that was in there, the culvert, had actually collapsed and it was completely blocked. So when, in 23, when it would rain every 3 days, this was underwater. This really started turning into a pond. And we knew something was catastrophically wrong. So we were able to pull that out. And ever since then, now this area doesn't flood. So the proof of concept, it's there. You know what I mean? We just have to finish the job and get it to where, the style of and how it meanders matches what Mark has in store. Yeah. You can see how when I talked about having these 2 fairways kind of almost join up and have the creek split it's there. Yep. That's all going to get kind of lifted, put some internal drainage in, and we're going to create a little bit of a wetland, a storage system up here a little bit closer to, the tee box, so that we can, again, have storage capacity that's not necessarily in play for the golfer, but allows us to function better. And then all that water that's coming into the property from the neighborhoods and the hillsides that makes its way down into the creek will have this high flow channel to make its way into the main channel. Part of the master plan is to reroute the golf course. Yeah. Because right now our clubhouse is way over here, and the first hole is quite a journey for the walker and even the golf cart rider all the way around our beautiful practice driving range. Our plan has it making the 13th our #1 starting hole. And that is going to be spectacular for every golfer who's going to come play here. They walk down the driveway, our attendants out there welcomes them. They can go up to the range, they can hit a few putts, they can come over here and hit a few practice shots on the short game area, and then you're walking right up to the first tee right here. And you're greeted with a commanding hole to open your day. It's a heck of a tee shot, you know what I mean?
What would this make the yardage, roughly?
Close to about 440.
Yeah.
For that championship level golfer.
Yeah.
But what it also does, Sean, that most people don't realize is too many people play the wrong set of tees in golf today.
Yes.
So whereas a recreational golfer, they may go to a tee complex in the first hole, and if all the tees are gathered really close, they'll be, oh, I'll play the back tees, never knowing what lies in front of them. So when a recreational golfer gets up here and they see the back tees, it's a monster of a hole. You're like, oh, no, those aren't for me. I'm going to play the next set up. Now we've got them on the appropriate tee box. It's going to be spectacular. And one of the things that we're doing, we're going to see if we can do it this fall, but the first creek, this hole has 2 crossing creeks. We're going to try to take away, or at least go over the first creek, so we take that out of play. that will exist underground.
Okay.
So improving the playability, because right now from our current tee box, that creek is really in the wheelhouse for 90% of the golfers who play. And essentially the golfers would then go almost in front of this tee box, lower than the tee box, so it's not a disruption visually to people playing this hole. And then we would bring the golfers up from 15, which is a nice natural uphill walk.
Yeah.
And then the golf carts would come up right where you're standing right now. And once they're done, they've got to get to the 10th tee. So Mark and his team are going to create a cart path that's going to go through the wooded area behind the green. So we're going to go up over the rocks through kind of like a cool little forest area to where you get to 10. And these tees were fully rebuilt, drainage, graded, completely regrassed after the Open. So, and it's made a big difference. I mean, the turf quality has improved. We still have some more trees to take down to improve some sunlight, but you know, you restore these bunkers and the hole just, it pops. And you get to see the clubhouse through the trees now. It's neat. So we're gonna keep a lot of the undergrowth there, just because it's, you know, it's a nice spot. You have future trees there, but I would envision the 2 tall pines on the right-hand side would come out. You know, they just cast a pretty significant shadow. Still to this day over on 9 and the 10th tee as well. But it's been a significant opening up on the golf course to, you know, just improve conditions. So this gives you a really good perspective on how we intend to get golfers from this green over here. As you can already see the opening in the woods right here, and what we've envisioned is seeing the cart path, instead of hooking left behind the green, come down, come through the back corner of that tee box there, and this all will drop down a little bit, and then they'll go through this way, go around. There's a back tee on 16 that will give access to, and then the main tee will be right there for people to continue their journey. And we just cleaned up this little corner of the area as well, and we're actually, this part of the property is something unique to us. This is a 15-acre wooded area, and it's a cool urban forest we call Putterham Woods. And so we're in the process right now developing a network of trails to go through there. So, you know, how can we be a better partner for the community, a destination for the community, and it's really improving the connectivity for the neighborhood and allowing people space to kind of walk through a woodland that you would, you know, reminiscent of Vermont.